Hello, I am Chloe.
Hello, I'm Yvonne.
And today we're going to have a discussion about the ball poem
By John Berryman.
Yeah, okay, I think so. So I think we can begin with the very, very brief summary, and both literal and figurative summary of this poem. So you go ahead.
Yeah, so basically this whole poem is about how like a boy lost his lost his ball, and then like that ball is like very important to him. However, in other people's perception, they believe that that ball is worthless and it can be easily taken. And also it also says like how he's experiencing through the grief and like
Why grief?
because like it's important, it's gone.
Okay.
Yes. So like as in like grief and sadness.
Okay. I think like in my opinion, I think the figurative part of this poem is talking about like the ball basically symbolizes and represents like childhood and like innocence, and like him losing the ball is basically like the narrator's descent into like growing up, and so he's obviously like, I think like as you said, it's like grieving, and he's also like talking about, oh well, I knew this would happen, but I still grieve over it, and I know that this is inevitable, and it's also good for me.
Yeah. So like he's forcing himself to kind of like accept the truth and stuff.
Yeah.
And also like the narrator. So basically, the narrator can be seen as the man. That's like the future self of the boy.
Oh.
So the boy is his past self. Yeah, and then like he's viewing this whole story as an outsider, and he's talking about the boy like as a whole new person, which also says that how like his identity has been changed as his like the ball and the childhood has been taken away.
Oh, so I think like I think like similar to what you said, like in the poem, the narrator definitely like talks a lot about, like you can even tell like through the poem, right? Like he doesn't feel like he's in the poem for most of the part. She feels like he's observing someone else, and I feel like that's also, he's maybe observing his childhood self, and he could also, and now like after that he suddenly uses first person, and he also cuts in using first person sometimes. I think that also relates to how like maybe like the poem structure as well, and the narrator, because he keeps mixing everything up. Like you can't tell the difference between past and present, similar to how as your identity changes and grows, you oftentimes either yearn for the past or you yearn to grow, but you also get confused with like who
mixed
you are
up.
Yeah.
And also like how the whole poem is like jumping between present and past tense. So it also says maybe he's kind of confused of what is happening, right? Like the complexity between the present and past. So basically in the poem it says like, for example, in the first line it says, what is a boy now who has lost his ball, which is present tense. But then in the second line, like the middle half thingy, it's like, I saw it go. So it's like past tense.
Also, like how the poem only has one stanza. I think that also like proves your point of it being like, past, like your past and your present will continue like always be mixed up and stuff, and you can't really tell the difference. But like obviously this, throughout the entire poem, the narrator has changed a lot. Like he went from being fully objective to becoming a more of a like biased person. He also became but he became less like his original identity. Also like how this one stanza shows that how one person can develop so quickly and like so much,
and it changes a lot. And also, fun fact, John Berryman's father died at like when he witnessed his death at the age of 11, which caused him depression and stuff, like and then like it kind of also like he's like forcing, because like his mother soon remarried another man, which is his stepfather, so he's like being told to kind of like grow up. You need to grow up, and you need to be like mature, you need to understand your mom's like hard past. Yes.
I think. Do you think like that kind of correlates to the overall conflict of this poem? Because like John Berryman's kind of like putting his own childhood experience, like how he grew up at like only like 12 years old, because after his father killed himself. So like, he kind of just like went with the flow of aging, and then finally found a way to like express himself through the ball poem.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Bye bye.